Hi everyone, let's just see if we're on. Hello. Yes, we're on. Ramadan Kareem to everyone. Welcome back to another one of our baking session live. My name is Camila. I'm a certified Wilton instructor for Tavola for Homes. Okay, so let's see. Now, today what we're going to do is we are going to go a little bit on a healthy side, right? But I'm just going to give you guys a couple of minutes to log on. Let's see. Welcome, guys. Okay. Now, today we will be making a sugar-free Madeira cake. So I am going to go through all the steps for you, and I'll tell you all the ingredients that we're using step by step. Okay? Let's see. Just give me a second. Now, I may not be able to answer all the questions while I'm doing this, but feel free to message us any questions that you may have. Okay? Now, first I'm going to start with all the ingredients that we're using for this. I'm using self-rising flour. I'm using almond meal or ground almonds, unsalted butter, lemon juice, lemon zest. So this is zest of 1 lemon, and also this is the juice from 1 lemon. I have milk, full fat or even low fat is fine. And as my sweetener, I'm using xylitol. Now xylitol is plant-based. You can also use stevia in this one. Okay, so I'm using this xylitol here. Okay. Now, all your ingredients should be room temperature. Okay. Now, before we starting to mix our ingredients and everything, I'm just going to go through couple of the basic steps for you. Okay. It's always best to weight your ingredients rather than measuring by cups. Okay. So I'm using a scale. Now, for those who it's the first time that they're baking and they're a beginner and they don't know how to use a scale, make sure when you put your scale on and you put that bowl on, you zero the scale before you add anything else to it. Okay. Also, make sure you have proper measuring cups, proper measuring spoons when you have to measure your ingredients, so you're always consistent with your recipe. And one thing we forgot again, 3 eggs. So my eggs are large eggs, and again, room temperature. Okay? That's what happens when you go live. There's no editing here. Now, before we start baking, I'm going to show you how to line your cake pan. This recipe that we're making, you can use a 6-inch or a 7-inch cake pan, good quality cake pan. I'm using a 7-inch today. However, you can double the recipe without any problems. Now, we're using baking paper or parchment paper. So you need to have a piece just a bit bigger, than the bottom of your bowl. And I want to have 1 strip that goes around my pan. It can be exact or maybe half an inch more, and just maybe about 2 inches higher than your pan. Okay, so our first step, we're going to take this paper and fold it into 4. So we get the middle of our paper. Again, fold it. Again, another half. So now I have 1, 2. If your opening is on your right hand side, you go from the bottom to the top. Okay, if your opening is on the left hand side, again, from the bottom to the top. Don't switch this way and then switch this way for the other fold, or you will end up in 2 pieces. Your paper will end up in 2 pieces, not you. So this is my third fold, and I'm going to make one more fold. Inside it. So here I have this little point. Okay, now we take this little point, place it to the middle of your cake pan, and with your scissors we're just going to cut on the curve. When you open your paper, it should fit the base of your pan perfectly. Now I know a lot of people, they put it here and they draw a circle. Even I do that. However, when you try putting it in here, it's always a little bit bigger. So what you can do, if you're in a rush, you can just cut on the inside, just slightly on the inside, and it will fit. Okay? Now, my second piece. We are going to fold this one half of an inch down. If you're holding it this way, like I'm holding it, it's half of an inch up. If you hold it the other way, it's half of an inch down. Okay? So you see that fold? Now, open. And I'm only going to make some snips just until where my line is. Now the reason for this, and the reason that I'm cutting it at an angle, is so that it's going to be able to sit nicely in your cake pans. And I'm using a bit of spray. If you don't have any spray, you can use a little bit of oil, butter, or even shortening just to grease the inside of the pan. And we want to grease it because we want this paper to sit and stick inside. Shake, always shake before you use your sprays. At a little distance, not too much, okay? My strip goes in first, and an easy way to put it in, fold it, pop it in, and you start from one end and just press it right around. Hi guys, for everyone who's joining, welcome. Now make sure that it's stuck nice and it looks really nice and smooth, because whatever shape you put this paper in, that's the shape your cake is going to take. Okay, my circle goes in, no need to spray again. And here we have your perfectly lined cake pan. Now, why do we line this cake pan? Okay, the most important reason for lining your cake pan is, one, that your cakes do not stick, especially cakes like chocolate cakes and stuff that tend to stick at the bottom. Okay, it's always best to line your cake pans. Now, even though my pan that I'm using is 7 inches by 3 inches high, I can make a cake that's 6 inches high in this pan by just lining my cake pan a little bit higher. So you can always, it's always best to line your cake pans. Okay? So now that we have this out of the way, we're going to start with our ingredients. I'm using the paddle attachment for this cake, and I'm using my KitchenAid. Again, if you don't have a stand mixer, you can use a hand mixer because it's a small recipe and you will have no problems with it. I have a really big KitchenAid, so I love to use my KitchenAid. First step, our butter goes in. Now, the recipe will be posted at the end of the broadcast. And here I have 175 grams of unsalted butter. That goes in. Press down. And first I want to make sure my butter is nice and creamy before I add my xylitol. So my mixer is on 4. It doesn't matter if it's on high because it's only butter we have in here. I'm just speeding it up a little. Now my butter is already room temperature, so it's going to get creamy really fast. Now, Some people ask sometimes, should we use margarine for baking cakes? I don't use margarine, I always use butter. The result with margarine and cakes, it's not as nice. You can try it and see. Alright, now I'm going to add my xylitol. So here I have 175 grams. And we want to mix this until it becomes nice and creamy. Now, remember to stop, scrape down. So I'm going to mix this for approximately 4 minutes. So while this is mixing, I'm going to sift my flour. And here I'm using one of my favorite toys. And let's pop this flour in. Now you will notice I didn't pour baking powder or anything in the recipe because self-rising flour already contains baking powder, it already contains salt. So no need for additional. If you don't have one like this, feel free to use a regular sifter. I'm going to pop this one in here. Oops. Give it a little bit now. Oops. And put on. So I'm going to stop, scrape down again. Let's just clear this up. A bit of cleaning. So my mixture is starting to look creamy. And you will know when it looks creamy because it changes color. The more you mix it, the lighter it becomes in color. Now let's see. So let's give it about a minute again. And we have the rest of our ingredients. So the first two steps we did, for those who just joined in, we've added our butter, we creamed it, then we add the xylitol because we're doing a sugar-free Madeira cake today with lots of lemon in it. You can change it, you can add orange zest instead of lemon. Okay, so my mixture looks fine now. Let's see. I'm going to show you a bit. So now do you see the color here? It's changed a bit. Okay. Now we're going to add all of the lemon zest. So this is the zest from one lemon, just one lemon. And I'm going to add the juice from one lemon also. We let this mix in until it's combined. And that looks good. Let's scrape it down. Okay, give it a little tap. So now that this is combined nicely, I'm going to start adding my eggs one at a time. And again, eggs room temperature, and I'm adding it on speed number 2. So here I have my 3 eggs. Okay, 1 egg together with 1 tablespoon of flour, and this is so that it doesn't curdle. and we let it mix until it's combined nicely before we add the second egg. Now the reason for adding the tablespoon of flour is so that it doesn't curdle, because remember we added all that lemon juice and zest in just now. Once you kind of see any eggs in here, you add the second egg. Now my second egg. What am I making? I'm making a sugar-free Madeira sponge. My second egg. And again, 1 tablespoon of the flour. The almond meal is not in here as yet. We let it mix until it's combined. And we add the next egg, the last egg. Okay, so here we have 3 eggs, and I add my tablespoon of flour. So now I'm mixing on the second speed. I'm not going to take it up higher, okay? Let's give it a scrape down. I'm going to make sure that everything is mixed in first, then I add the rest of my flour. Oops. So speed number 2. So we still have the almond meal here, okay? We haven't added this as yet. Now, everything is mixed in here. I'm going to add the rest of my flour, but on the lowest speed. And so this is self-rising flour. Okay, let's just pop it all in. And we put it all in there. Everything's in. Once your flour is mixed in nicely, we then add our ground almond or almond meal. So now it's mixing, everything's mixed in. Remember, lowest speed. My almond meal. I am going to stop and scrape down all the sides, the bottom of the bowl. Give it one more whisk. Just let everything get nice and combined. And what we're going to do now, we're going to check the consistency. So I'm going to take it down. Scrape all the excess off and give it a quick little mix by hand. Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to mix it in, make sure everything is mixed in nicely. Now, you will see the consistency here. Okay, if your consistency looks a little bit on the stiff side or heavy side, you can add a bit of milk. Now, I have 1/4 cup of milk here, but I don't think I need the full 1/4 cup. So I'm just going to add a little bit. So what you can do is add by the tablespoons, just to check your consistency first. So sometimes you don't always need the 1/4 cup. And the reason for that is it depends on the flour you're using. Different flours absorb liquids differently. Okay, so I've added 2 tablespoons of milk from the 1/4 cup that I had. And I'm just gonna give it a quick mix until it's combined. Okay, now I'm not going to keep mixing because you don't want to stretch the gluten in the flour. And the reason it looks a little bit gritty, it's because of the almond meals that we used. Okay, so now I'm going to pop it into my pan. I'm just going to clear here up a little. Yeah, and back. And again, for those who joined in just now, this is a 7 by 3 inch high pan. You can also use a 6 by 3 inches high. Try not to get any of your mixture on the paper, on the sides of the paper. Smoothen it out nicely. And let's see. Tap your pan down little, and here we have, okay. Now I'm going to pop this in the oven for roughly around 45 to 50 minutes at 160 degrees Celsius. If you're using a fan oven, you bake at 140 degrees Celsius. Okay, so I'm going to pop this one in just behind me here. And put my timer on. For about 45 minutes. I'm going to clear here up just a little and I will show you the finished one that I did earlier. Okay, now remember, preheat your ovens before you start baking. Don't let your cake sit outside when you forgot and said, oh, I didn't preheat the oven, because most ovens will take roughly 15 minutes to preheat. And it's always best that you use an oven thermometer in your oven so you have the precise temperature. Okay, now I'm going to show you one of the cakes that I did before. Now this is the one that I did earlier today. Okay, so this is the size that I got in the 7-inch pan. Now you don't need to put a lot of stuff in this. So what I'm going to do is I am going to just glaze the top of it with a little bit of apricot jam. So what I did is I took the apricot jam, I add a tablespoon of water to some of this, heat it in the microwave and strain it through a strainer. So I have a nice smooth glaze to just brush onto my cake so it stays nice and shiny. So you see my apricot, just to give it a nice little glaze. And also this is sugar free. Okay, the jam is also sugar free. So if you don't want to just put your cake out looking like this, you can dress it up a little, make it look nice. And here I have some dehydrated orange slices that I did in my dehydrator. I love to do things on my own. And there you have it, our cake. Now any questions that you have, feel free to message us, and I hope you enjoyed this session. And please tell us what you would like to see us make next time. Just send us, when we do a poll, tell us what you'd like to see us make. Okay, bye.